welcome back to the Eclectic Collection. Today we have episode 19, Inexpensive Disney. So, I can already hear you rolling your eyes. Is that possible? So, I have done Disney and been a big fan of the happiest place on earth for a very long time, since I was a wee tot, and I first went there in 1979 with my fam. And I'm pretty sure we went on Space Mountain 7 times in a row because Pop was really obsessed with it. But lately, it's just turned into a thing because, obviously a lot of things are expensive or more expensive now than they were. But I heard a disturbing comment that I later found out was some article. And I don't know where, and I'm not going to track it down. But I did end up getting a clip of it and finding out that people are saying now it is estimated that Disney is so expensive, it has priced itself out of a standard vacation. And that the average family that makes $75,000 a year or less would struggle to go. And that really bothered me because I'm thinking families that make $75,000 a year or more are probably not going to go to Disney anyway. They're probably headed to like Bora Bora or somewhere in Europe, providing flights and whatnot. Agree. So that really bothered me because if you do things from the gate, pardon the pun, and you go buy tickets right there, or you stay in the parks and you do everything Disney, all Disney, the way Disney wants you to do it, yes, it is extremely expensive. However, I'm here to tell you from personal experience, and because I'm completely hyped that I'm leaving in less than a week to go to the happiest place on earth and have a magical day, or several. I need my Disney groove. I haven't had my Disney groove. Last year I didn't get my Disney groove, and I just want to keep the world safe. So I'm going to Disney. But I have, I think, perfected a methodology whereby you can cheat some things, not sacrificing quality, fun, or anything else, and really do it inexpensively. So I'm going to share that with you. I hope it helps people that would like to travel or do that and think it's not in their budget. I will tell you this, I'm a hyper planner, and I think that that type of vacation is something you need to plan because, especially now on the other side of crazy in the world, you don't have a choice, and a lot of places are making you pick a day or stick to a timeline that wasn't the case before. But now it is very viable, more inexpensively than you think. And I'm just going to break down all the different components. Again, I hope that it helps even just one person to get there or take their family. And you could go as a kid, as an adult. There's really no good or bad time to go. I really like it. I will say this about the company, regardless what you think, they are super at customer service. I would say they are probably the supreme customer service people in the world and really do want you to have a good time. And I have never met a mean person there or been denied anything reasonably requested ever. So it's definitely a place that has their act together. I equate them to Chick-fil-A in the fast food service. My pleasure, literally. They go to Disney boot camp, I'm sure, to be able to say that. And they are referred to as cast members, and we, of course, are guests. So let's start with the most obvious, okay? Transportation. I live outside of the Philadelphia area, so it's exactly 15 hours, about 1,000 miles, almost even, from my door to Orlando. And right outside Orlando is a small town called Kissimmee, which has the wonderful Earlo Bronson Boulevard that is the equivalent to a big road I have up here, Baltimore Pike, which is basically a ton of hotels and chain restaurants and stores and shops and everything. And you could find and will find everything you need up and down that road. So if you need a Walmart, they have Publix and Kroger down there instead of Acme and Giant like we do. But anything you could need in that realm, Walgreens seems to be the pharmacy, although I did spot a few CVS's, and then there's always the different hotel chains and things if you want to do that. I will tell you that on that road is everything that you could want to find, including Wawa now, which makes me very excited because being a Delco chick, you have to go to Wawa all the time. So, hey, driving. I would say drive if you can. Now, hear me out. If you are in a distance and you're not in Florida or somewhere close and it's a pain, think about pros and cons. Yes, of course, you have gas costs, and they are up right now. But in the end, it is actually worth it, especially if you can rotate drivers and drive straight through. Obviously, if you can't, then you might want to consider stopping and going in a budget motel or something like that, which is not that horrific, again, if you have a few people splitting the cost. However, if you can drive, I think that's the way to go. So I usually pack up my SUV with everybody and all the stuff I need, and I usually drive, and I've kind of started to build in a stop point at least halfway through in the last couple times I've gone, but I have done it straight through. You do get fatigued, and obviously every 5 or 6 hours you have to stop to fuel up your vehicle. But if you can do that, there's minimal tolls up and down the coast. I have Easy Pass up here. They have Sun Pass down there. Maybe, I don't even think it's $10, but there's minimal tolls. And yeah, okay, gas. But if you can rotate drivers, you just sleep in the car and everybody just changes out and you get there quicker, and that's that. So you've eliminated a flight cost. Now, on the other side, if you have to fly, I recommend trying a place. Again, your airport and city may differ, but there's smaller airports often make runs to big places, i.e. Orlando, Vegas, etc. So even though I have Philadelphia Airport and American is our hub, Spirit Air, which is my favorite little ghetto fabulous airline, is out of Philadelphia seasonally. However, they always have a hangar in Atlantic City, which from me is only about an hour away. So it's worth it to go to a small little 2-hangar airport, and they often have very reasonable, if not ridiculously low, flights. Sometimes you might have to book them one way and one way, like you can't just do a round trip easy ticket. But it was $45. And that's not like talking about lately crazy, which there's been some very low fares to try and get people to fly again. But before all the craziness in the world, it was like $45 or $50 one way, and maybe 60 or 65 on the way back. So you just, and you could park there reasonably or free at those smaller airports, which is not something you could say for a big international airport. So that's something to consider as well if you do want to fly for convenience sake. The thing there is you have to think of it about checking bags or any kind of extra cost. I know with Spirit, it's pretty much the attraction of it is bring a little carry-on, don't pay for baggage, just sit, take whatever seat they give you. That's the most economical way to go. What I have done for friends of mine in the past is I've driven and been the pack mule and taken everyone's luggage in the party. And I even went with 26 people one time and took care of everything so that it was all in my car. And I just drove down with a friend and everybody else flew, took a carry-on. That's an option too, if they can wait for their luggage on the return trip. So those are just some transportation options. You can do a train. I really don't recommend it. Even if you had like a roomette on Amtrak, you're probably talking $450 with a max of maybe 2 people in that roomette, and it takes over 24 hours to get there, which will boggle me until the day I die. I feel like trains should be faster, so how can I possibly drive there and beat the train when I'm doing fewer miles an hour than the train? I don't know. Unsolved mysteries. When I die, that's like on my top 15 questions to ask God. Anyhow, that's the transportation issue. So if you can drive, I think that's the way to go. The second big thing is, okay, where do I stay? Here's the game. Disney is expensive, period. And they want you to stay on property. I get that. However, don't. Just don't. The average hotel room, run-of-the-mill, normal, affordable place, they have what they call value, moderate, and deluxe. There's nothing wrong with any of them, but I'll be honest. It's a room with a cube fridge, 2 beds and a bathroom, and maybe a little safe in the wall. So that's great that it's got cute little skull and crossbow and crossbones pirate themes in the corner, and it might have Little Mermaid, and you might see a picture of Mickey, but that's about the only difference. Yes, okay, they're thematic and they're cute. It's still 2 beds with a cube fridge and a safe in the wall with a bathroom. Okay, so you're not getting more room. You're definitely not getting more space. I do not recommend what used to be $150 a night at a value resort. That's not really a value to me. Is now about $250 a night. And what was moderate and was a $250 a room night is now about $350, and so forth and so on. And the deluxe rooms, they can be between $500 and $750 a night. They're still sleeping four. And what if you have a family of five? Or, what if it's more than that? Or what if you have a bunch of people? I really don't recommend it. Their sell is going to be transportation in and around the parks and all this kind of fun stuff. Let me let you in on a secret. Most of what they did to help is gone. Most of the perks and reasons for staying in the parks aren't there anymore. They're either not doing them, took them away permanently, or aren't bringing them back yet, or you just don't see the same facsimile of what they were. So they used to say if you stayed in the parks, you had transportation to and from anywhere else in the parks. Well, that's true, but you don't need to stay at a resort to use those transportational pieces. And the other big transportational factor was if you got into Orlando Airport, the Magical Express would pick you up and bring you to a hotel. Now, that is still true. However, it is running 3 to 4 hours to pick up people, even when they're sitting there with their luggage ready to go, just because they're really behind on rehiring and getting enough staff members back on. And that service will cease to exist as of New Year's Eve this year. It's done as of 2021 ends. So you're never going to have a Magical Express. Now, in 2023 or 2024, allegedly, they're building a high-speed train line from the airport right to Disney. But it's not built yet, and it's going to be a while. And if there's one thing I've learned about the company, as awesome as they are, they promise a lot, and they tend to deliver late. So they get it done, but it's never in the time that they met, especially in the last 2 years. I got to cut them a break on that. The other thing that they used to boast was that if you stayed in the parks, you could have more time on Fast Passes. Well, guess what? Fast Pass isn't working right now. For those of you that don't know, Fast Pass was the system where you could get 3 jump in line kind of situations for rides. And when you exhausted those 3, you could go back and go on either a mobile phone or a kiosk in the park and get 3 more. Fast Pass has been suspended, and it may or may not come back. I think it will, but it's not back yet. Fireworks just returned July 1st. So that's a thing. And there's a lot of other experiences, excursions, and different upgrades and stuff that you normally can get that still aren't available. So they're just returning to somewhat normal, and a lot of stuff has not returned yet. There used to be extra magic hours. They would sell that to you for staying in the hotel. Well, no, they're not doing that anymore. You used to be able to go in 2 or 3 hours extra in a day. You might get an hour or 2 earlier in the morning at like some ridiculous time at 7 or 8 o'clock, and the park opened at 9, and you used to be able to stay till 11:30, midnight, or 1 when the park would close at 9 or 10. Nope, all gone. Now they're calling it an early hour situation. It's still not in effect, and they let anybody in about a half an hour before the park opens. But big deal. You hurry up and wait so you can stand in line. You can't be crazy when you go to Disney. A lot of people are, and they treat it like boot camp. I don't recommend that, because rope dropping is when you're standing there and they literally drop a rope and you're allowed to go into the lands. Well, that's great, but you're still hurry up and wait, because all it does is pack up transportation and back up all the people waiting, so you could get a little bit further in line. Then they drop the line, they let you in the door, but none of the rides are open or up yet, so what's the point? So I wouldn't do that. A lot of early birds like that. I'm more of an afternoon night person, so I'm definitely not the 6:30 in the morning waiting to get in, only so I could wait to another line to get in. Anyway, the point of that was that perk is gone. So food was the last perk that they used to give. Now, they didn't give you food, but they would have a plan. They had a dining plan. Well, that dining plan has also been suspended, and you still had to pay for that dining plan. Mickey is not good at food in general. Now, Epcot's a different story, and there's certainly some awesome restaurants and places that I recommend. But in general, a cheeseburger's a cheeseburger, a hot dog's a hot dog. It's basically theme park food. You're not going to get anything fantastic. uh, anywhere. Certainly not in any of the resorts. Yes, if you're going to five-star dining or a particular restaurant, yes, but specifically, they're all kind of cookie cutter. And they're not great. And Mickey doesn't eat after midnight, apparently, and he's not on my schedule. So I can't tell you how many times, bad chicken nuggets aside, there's literally nothing to eat, in which case you're going to have to get Uber Eats or call something and pay some exorbitant amount to have something outside brought into you anyway. Some resorts have room service, which has also been suspended currently. And it's not normal room service because usually it's only your deluxe resorts that have it. And if they do have it, it's very truncated time wise. So if it's after midnight, you might not even be able to get that. So those things really bother me. So all of the reasons that they would have said, okay, stay here, not really. Two other things that they used to boast were free parking and magic bands. Okay, what's a magic band? Basically, it's a plastic bracelet that you wear around your wrist that has all of your information encoded, and you would just swipe into the park, or you could even link a credit card to it. I'm way too Big Brother is watching. I will never do that. I don't need them tracking me, but they will know where you are. They used to give you a free magic band per guest if you stayed in the park. They don't do that anymore. And they're kind of phasing you into purchasing them if you want. It's optional. You could certainly use your phone, which most people do. But they used to be about $10. Now they're like 20, 25. The other thing is parking. If you stayed at the resort, you did not have to pay to park if you drove there. Now, it's $25 at the park to park at any of the actual facilities if you're driving. But if you were in the hotel and just parking at the hotel, the resorts that are on the moderate to deluxe side are between $25 and $45 a vehicle per night, and the economic resorts are $25 a night. Well, what's the purpose of that? You're basically tacking another huge bill on top of your already huge bill that is almost doubled in room costs. So if I haven't made a case for you not to stay in the parks, I don't know who has. Now, they do give a great military discount, and they're very respectful of the military, which is great. But even with that discount, you're still paying basic room rates, which is still over $100 a night. Now, do the math on that. If you're going to stay 7 days anywhere, and again, you're going to need more than one room if you're over 4 people, or pay some exorbitant suite or upgrade fee for a rollaway or a fifth person, you're really not making out well as far as money goes. So what's the alternative? Okay, either find yourself a normal budget motel and negotiate a week stay early. And there are many places on that Earler Bronson Boulevard that I was telling you about that have a week stay, not really a condo, but like kitchenette sort of upgraded hotel situation that are very reasonable. A lot of people like to do Verbo. A lot of people like to do, different vacation places, or you can do some sort of friend of a friend or things of that nature. And I get that. But if you don't want to get into that, because a lot of hidden fees. I have done Verbo before. Airbnb, same thing. Never had a bad experience, but I noticed that, again, fees, cleaning, of course, now is a big thing, and they start to be bigger. When they were new, they were great services. Now I feel like they've priced themselves out. You can still find some good deals, but if you're not into the extra hidden fees, taxes, cleaning fees, some sort of insurance, that can be pricey too. What I generally do, I bought into a vacation conglomerate years ago. It's really like, I would call it a vacation club, not Disney's vacation club. That's ridiculously expensive. However, people do that and they get points and this and that. I played the timeshare game. I don't recommend it. But the actual place that I go is 4 miles from Disney. It's a full condo. It sleeps 10 to 12, has its own pool, full kitchen, washer, dryer, plenty of space, super clean, and on premises is all sorts of stuff for the kids, and very close to, there's, a gym there, and you can work out and mini golf and another pool and sauna and spa and all that on property as well. It's a gated community. It's very secure, and I've had no trouble with that ever. I've stayed there quite a few times, and that's where I'm going again. I found that it was cheaper to buy into that type of situation, and it's not just Florida that I'm stuck with or limited to. I could go to so many different places with this vacation club, and there's a lot of places out there like that. And you know, just look on the internet. But I've been a member since probably 2000, so that's the way I go. And for less than $30 to $50 a day, which is certainly cheaper than the average plain hotel and definitely way cheaper than Disney, I could go and stay in a very nice place. It's actually more of a home than a small box cube with two beds that you're tripping all over everybody with your luggage and whatnot. I think it just makes the most sense to be able to try and do a stay on your own, because you don't have to worry about so many extra fees, taxes, etc. And again, I'm not saying run out and spend thousands in some vacation club or something that you can't afford. Don't put yourself into debt. But there are a lot of affordable plans out there. You can, pay monthly for different things like that, or just stay at a normal hotel. Pick anything you like, and it's amazing what you can get when you ask. And more with honey than vinegar. Be normal, have a conversation, look for those places that do weekly stays fairly inexpensively. And remember too, there's military discounts available, there's teacher discounts available. I've certainly used. There's AAA discounts available, and I just have AAA membership anyway, because I don't want to be stranded at 3 o'clock in the morning with a flat tire and no gas somewhere. It could happen. So if you're part of any kind of club or deal or organization, you'd be amazed like what's out there. So I know a lot of times first responders have different tickets and deals and things available to them. So look for that for any break you can get on stays. Okay, so that takes care of our transportation, and that takes care of our where to be and lay your head at night. Now comes the big enchilada, which of course is tickets. Now, here's my 2 cents in the 25-cent version on tickets. Yes, you could always walk up to the gate and buy a ticket flat out. But I think that's the dumbest thing ever, so you shouldn't do that. Even if you're in a bad situation and you're stuck, try for another alternative. At the gate, things are up so much to almost $125 a day per park. Okay, so it's not economical to do that way. The key and the trick with Disney is that the longer you stay, the less it is. And of course, people think, well, I don't have that much time for vacation or whatever it may be. And that's fine too. But the key break point is usually 3 to 4 days. And they know that. So if you can just squeeze one more day, 5 and 6 would be better for you than 3 and 4. The tickets decrease per day the longer you stay. And they really put the squeeze to the 3rd and 4th day stays. And they also break down differently. So again, no frills, just explanations, and then we'll get into ways around this. Disney will sell you any amount of days, from 1 till probably infinity, although I've usually seen 1 to 10 day packages. And 10's a lot. I get it. I mean, I would find something to do every day because there's a lot there. But the average person, like I said, stays 3 or 4 days. So the more you stay, the cheaper it is. And the way this goes, there are base tickets and hopper tickets. A base ticket means that you can only attend one park per day. You cannot start out in Magic Kingdom and move to Epcot because you felt like it. That is a hopper. A base ticket means you commit to one park a day. A hopper ticket, which of course is much more expensive, is when you can jump around from place to place to place. Here's where I'm at. Commit. Because you're going to lose so much time in transportation, even if you're driving yourself. It's like New York. You could see from one block to the other, but if you had to take a cab, it could take you a half hour to get there, if not longer. They actually tell you to anticipate 45 minutes to an hour and a half, I'm not kidding about this, to get from one park to another or any movement whatsoever in and around their complex, which is usually an overshoot, but because they don't want you to be late, miss a reservation, etc. And they will charge you if you are if you miss a reservation, if you're doing a dinner situation. So I would really recommend not putting yourself in that situation and stay in a park. Just commit and stay in a park per day. And right now, you kind of have to, because yes, you can hop, but you used to be able to go and hop whenever you wanted, wherever you wanted. And there is transportation to take you from A to B if you don't want to drive yourself. Some people might drive to one park, and then you can either take a monorail, or you could take the bus system, you could take the ferry, or you could take the Skyliner, which is the newest form of transportation. They have been really backed up because there just aren't enough employees back yet. So all of those forms of transportation have been anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour wait. Well, I don't want to waste an hour of my vacation trying to go from A to B, so I generally drive myself. But they've all been super backed up. The other thing is that with going from place to place, now you can only hop after 2 p.m. So what's the point of paying that much more money for a ticket when you can't really utilize it except for after 2 p.m.? And especially if you're a morning person, you're not going to like that. A lot of people like to be able to go back, and they leave, they go early in the morning, and then they leave at like 1 or 2, and they go back and they do the pool thing in their resort, and then they get packed up and they may go back at night. You can go to a pool anywhere, so I would not recommend doing that. I mean, unless you're putting a kid down for a nap, or you actually need to legitimately get out of the sun and get some air condition, which I understand, but there's definitely attractions you could duck into that'll handle that for you. So I would say commit and don't do a hopper pass. Now, never buy a Disney ticket from the gate. Again, AAA has cheaper tickets. They are definitely not as inexpensive as they used to be, but that is an option. Again, military tickets, best way to go. A buddy of mine's in the Air Force, and he gets a significantly better rate. The deal with them is they only get like X amount a year. So that's great if you're friends with them and go make friends with somebody in the military. I believe it counts for retired veterans as well. However, you do need, a little cautionary tale, a military personnel to be with you and check you into the park on the first day. So if you're friends with that person, you're going to vacation with them anyway, that's great. But if somebody's pulling a favor for you, they need to be there and have a ticket and go in and check you in on the first day. So that's the only drawback. It's not like you could just, kidnap a veteran and say, hi, buy me these tickets and, see you, bye-bye. It doesn't work like that. But they have the best discount from Disney. The other thing, too, is group tickets. You'd be amazed. Group tickets actually go pretty well. I believe they're pretty large for groups, but think about it. If you're a teacher, if you have a summer camp, if you have a sports team, I know that there's always choral groups and cheerleaders down there all the time. And they do have things where you could perform, or you have runners, or a lot of the Disney Princess runs. If you got a big group, usually 20, I believe. Now, it used to be you could get some part of a discount for 10. I believe it's 20 now. Obviously, more is better. Definitely safe at 20, but used to be a little less. But if you have that amount of people, they will work with you themselves, and Disney will actually cut you a break on the tickets. Again, the longer you stay, the better. But you don't have to all have the same kind of ticket. So you might have 5 people that are staying for 10 days and 10 people staying for 4 days, et cetera, et cetera. Also, note to self, if a child is under the age of 3, they are free. From 3 to 9, they're considered kids, and 10 and above are considered adults. So it's the only place on earth where you could be an adult at 10 years old, but hey, if you have a 3-year-old, I would not disclose that they're a 3-year-old. I would make them 2, shove a binky in their mouth and call it a day, carry them in the park. They're really not going to stop you. I mean, if you have a 10-year-old and you're trying to shove a binky in their mouth and put them on your shoulder, that's not going to work. But if you have a little wee tot, you could definitely squeeze by with a 3 and potentially 4-year-old, depending on the size of your child. And yes, I am telling you that you're not taking away from Disney revenue with just that one kid getting in. So there's the ticket options. Again, you have AAA, you have military, you have groups, and then there's just a lot of outside deals. Now beware, because there are nasty people in the world. You could always fall for, and I don't recommend this, the whole timeshare thing. Oh, hey, you'll give you free tickets, except they want you to give away 4 hours of your life and really hard sell something that you don't want, that you don't have time for, and they're trying to put you into a vacation club or put you into a timeshare. Been there, done that. Timeshares are not cool. I love my vacation package because it's different. I can go anywhere I want, when I want, providing it's available, and that's that. Whereas when I had a timeshare, you're in one location, it's a fixed time, it's a fixed spot. The reality of you getting the same week every year, you really got to commit to that, and that life doesn't always work that way. So I didn't really care for it. I actually ended up selling my timeshare and putting that toward this vacation conglomerate, which is the best thing I ever did. I don't regret it at all, and a lot of reputable companies out there, but you do have to look. Whereas other people, hey, listen to this 3-hour tour and then you get tickets. I would not subject yourself to that. However, there are reputable companies. I know Tickets at Work is an option. They kind of have different pockets of people. Again, look at your company. There's a lot of corporate tickets. If you're a big name company, you probably have an in anyway. I know if you're a group of type of people, example, teachers, first responders, nurses, doctors, etc., there's usually either a professional courtesy that gets extended to your firm or your hospital or your school, or it could be to different unions or different types of professions that they can come through personally to a company or in general. They're out there and they're pretty good. So look for them, and give them, check them out and give them a try. Again, the longer you stay, the cheaper it is. So there are ways to do that. If your tickets are your most expensive thing of your trip, thinking transportation, food, accommodations, and tickets, then points to you. Because if your tickets are the most expensive thing that you did, then you probably played the game right, because they are pricey. Obviously, the cheaper you get them, the better. But that's probably going to be your largest cost, or should be your largest cost, give or take gas and how many people you're trying to stay. There's one hotel room versus 5. It depends on what you have. Which leads me to food. Okay, you got to eat. I get it. Now, are there really cool restaurants in the parks? Some, yes. Is the average hot dog worth it? Absolutely not. Are you a victim of a good sell? Ask yourself that question. I can walk by any kind of Mickey bar or Mickey shaped pretzel or whatever. That's great. It's ears. Get over yourself. It's a pretzel. And they're nowhere as good as Philly pretzels anyway. So I could easily walk by them. Just because it's Mickey shaped does not mean you need to eat it or spend $10 to get it. And yes, all food and drink items are up between $1 and $4 more per unit than they were a year ago. So there's nothing that is so spectacular that you absolutely must have while in the park. The only thing, I'm not even kidding about this, that I would yield to is Dole Whip. Because what's not to love about Dole Whip? And again, if you don't know what Dole Whip is, it's magical and you need to have some. It's basically pineapple, although they have a lot of flavors now. But it's basically pineapple. It's right outside the Tiki room and near Pirates of the Caribbean. And it has a wonderful pineapple-y smell. They have coconut, they have raspberry. It's like a custard and pineapple slush kind of a situation. Very yummy. That's the only thing I would splurge on. Or maybe a frozen Coke, because I'm a Coca-Cola fan, diehard. But honestly, you might only spend $5 or $6 on that. And a frozen Coke's probably like $3.50. So that's that. If you're going to buy water, I don't know what's wrong with you, because you could bring water, obviously. And they give you free water in the parks everywhere. They have bottle filling stations everywhere. And almost every restaurant or quick service station will give you free cups of water, which you can either drink or pour into your water bottle. The only place that, obviously they're going to try and sell you bottles of water, but water is free if it's, I'll say, loose water, if you will. Food-wise, unless you're making a reservation for a specific restaurant, and there are a few, I would say Epcot's your best bet for food. Honestly, you couldn't pay me to eat in Animal Kingdom. I'm not a fan. I have looked at most of their menus, and it's not my thing. And it is also, in my opinion, the smallest park actually not in size, but with amount of things to do. Worth going, but if I had to skip a park, that would be the park I skipped. Definitely the least amount of things to do. You're talking like 8 attractions as opposed to 26 attractions in Magic Kingdom, just to put that in perspective. And you have about 8 attractions in 8 countries in Epcot, and you have about 16 attractions in Hollywood Studios, and all that awesome Star Wars stuff is over there. So that's just quick and dirty. But to do that, I would say if you're going to have a specific reservation, in Epcot or place that, you're having that special meal, that's great. But if you're just hungry because it's time to eat or whatever, first of all, joke's on you, because they're doing a lot of mobile ordering now. And if you want to eat lunch at 12 or 1 when normal people do, and eat dinner at 6 or 6:30, 7 o'clock when normal people do, you're not going to be able to do that unless you order hours in advance. I said hours, plural, at like 9 or 9:30. You better put in for that hot dog at 12 because the lines are crazy. At first, it was a great secret. Now, everything's touchless, contactless, blah, blah, blah. So everybody started doing mobile stuff. Well, that's great. It's convenient, but I don't want to think about a hot dog at 12:30 at 9 o'clock in the morning. I don't even want to think about food at 9 o'clock in the morning. So to me, it's not worth the grief, and it's definitely not worth the money, because that hot dog might be $12. And you can get a hot dog for $1 when you're out at anybody's Little League game. So what do? Okay, cool tip. Bring food, eat on the way. Again, I'm not a morning person, but if you are on your way into the park, especially if you're driving yourself, because you should be, stop at McDonald's, get yourself a 2-for-2 breakfast sandwich situation, bring a bottle of water, eat it in the car, see it bye-bye, go into the park. And if you absolutely must have the $9 hot dog at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, fine. I would say either make a decent reservation for dinner, eat early, and make that your meal. And if you want to eat something on the way home, which fireworks are generally at 9 or 9:15, generally the parks close 9 or 10 o'clock, depending on the park, grab, a $1 burger on the way home if you're hungry still. That's what I would do. And that's what I've told people. I'm more of an afternoon person, so I would get up, grab a sandwich. I could hit any fast food place on the way in, spend $1, get a taco or a burger or whatever, literally go on the dollar menu. You don't want to eat heavy because it's 9 million degrees in the Florida sun. Just get something in your system. Make sure you have a lot of water, which of course, again, is free once you bring what you have. And with all the hydro flasks and whatnot in the world these days, I don't think there's an issue with water. Don't let there be one. You can bring in anything you want to a Disney park except for loose ice and umbrellas. I'm going to say that obviously weapons and alcohol go without say. But loose ice is a new one. You're not allowed to have loose ice. You can have ice packs. You can have cold things. You just can't have loose ice like in a Ziploc bag or in a cooler. But you can literally bring anything you want inside. Umbrellas are a no because obviously they could be a danger. Oh, and selfie sticks are a no. You can't have selfie sticks. But you can bring any kind of food, any kind of drink, any kind of snack. As long as it's not alcoholic, you can have whatever you want. Not a problem. And a little tip I would recommend, matter of fact, I just bought one of these. Get yourself a legitimate stainless steel straw, because they just switched over to paper straws. And I'm not a big fan. They're getting away from plastic, and they're also not giving you lids if you buy like a fountain drink or something like that. That's pretty new. And, I would just go to Amazon and get that. We spent like, I don't know, $8 or something for 2 of them. It was worth it just in case, if you're a straw person. They only do paper straws, and after you've had that for about a minute and a half, it's stuck together and ripping. So that's a new thing. But you can literally bring in anything you want. So if you have a picky eater, or a person that needs to snack constantly, or somebody's got a medical condition and they have to eat at different times, you can bring in whatever you want. So just throw a backpack together and have it ready to go. Make sure it's comfortable and you have decent shoes so you can walk around. And that's that. Then you have whatever you need, and you could eat what you want when you want. And if you want to splurge for something, like I said, go get something unique like a Dole Whip, or don't go get a pretzel shaped like Mickey. It's so cliche, and it's just a pretzel. They're not very good. So that's what I would do food-wise, thus skipping extreme expenses on that, because you could really burn a lot of money that way. Leaving me with the last thing, which is totally optional, and I just don't buy the stuff, and that's just merch. Any kind of blinky thing, sequin thing. I mean, there's ears out there that are going for $44 and $45 a piece if you want sequined Mickey ears. And I'm pretty sure there's a Heidi Klum ear that is now like been retired that was like $1,500 for ears. What is wrong with you is my first question. If you're buying stuff like that, no. Just ignore it. Now, I get it. If you have kids and you're like, okay, I would just say, no, child, see you. But that's me. I guess I'm grinchy that way. Yeah, if you're going to get something, cheat ahead of time and go to one of the knockoff stores. There's a lot of legitimate Disney products. They may just be outdated in the sense that the newest thing came out and they had leftovers, or it was last year's stuff, or whatever. The characters don't change. Mickey and Donald and Daisy and Minnie and Goofy and Pluto are still those people. So, you could go to any one of a number of like 50 stores on that highway I was telling you about and pick up pennies on the dollar, anything you could think of. Towels, t-shirts, whatever, fill in the blank. Don't buy stuff from the park. Especially, oh, it's a cute Mickey balloon inside a balloon. Oh, it's pixie dust, it's fairy dust, it's a lightsaber. Yes, I get it. It's cool. But the blinky thing is not going to blink forever, and the glow stick is definitely going to die by the end of the night. And whatever billions of dollars that they're charging you, just walk away. Just say no. Think of good old Nancy Reagan. There is no reason to really buy anything unless you have a need or an agenda to buy a specific thing. Now, I get it. If you're trying to buy a vintage lithograph something and you have a very specific item in mind that you plan on dropping a ton of money on, you go right ahead. That's your plan. But if you're just talking random kitschy stuff that you normally would get, don't. Get it out of the parks. Don't even get it at Disney Springs, aka formerly Downtown Disney. Don't do that just because they're going to charge you tons of money for the same hat or ears or whatever that you could find in any one of those stores for pennies on the dollar. Especially if you have little kids, frankly, and they don't know the difference. Go get them a little costume or whatever, and it's $5 and that's that, instead of buying a $500 wannabe Ariel dress or whatever it is that they have. By the way, adults cannot be in costume. I don't know why that people don't know that, but because there are obvious adults that are dressed up like the real characters, so they don't want to confuse little kids and make obviously security issues. So adults, you cannot get dressed up. So if the kids are 14 and under, they can wear costume like things. No masks ever, but you can always do costumes, and if they want to do the pirate thing or the princess thing or the prince thing, that's fine. So I would just say avoid merch altogether, or if you're going to get something little, and they often have like $3, $4, $10 or something like that you can get in the Emporium, and that would be the way to go. As far as just other things, I would say that a lot of what I have just shared with you is from my personal experience in terms of going there as inexpensively and economically as possible to bring as many people and have the most amount of fun with the least amount of money and let your buck stretch as far as it can. A lot of great tips and tricks are with people that I have watched, and I'm not a huge YouTube person, but allears.net, I really respect what they do. They actually go in and do a lot of, there's tons of videos, you can go watch them, but they do a lot of practical things on their channel talking about this transportation versus that transportation, and they'll have two different people, often former cast members that work there and know the Disney inner workings, and they'll time themselves to see how long it took to go to this place versus this place, or which type of transportation, or which restaurant had the reservation, or whatever it was, and it's worth looking at. DFB is the Disney food blog. They're dfb.com. I really like them as well. They're two trusted sources. They're legitimate people. Most of them either worked for Disney or know a ton about it. They've made it their career. Obviously, the food blog people, they have a lot. I don't get any kickbacks or anything from them. I'm just telling you what I've seen, and they seem pretty reliable and worth watching. And they've done all sorts of things food related, but they also can help you out with different resorts and little tricks and amenities and things. There's a lot of free stuff at Disney. People don't know that. There's a lot of free things that you can do, or super inexpensive things as well at different resorts, or that you don't have to stay there to do that. There's the lounge option instead of the restaurant options. Sometimes it's a little less money and you don't need a reservation. There's fishing, horseback riding, kayaking, boating, all sorts of things. Yes, they can get extravagant in money, but many are pretty inexpensive, and there's a lot of free stuff. There's animation classes and cooking classes and different speakers and movies and campfires and little have s'mores outside. There's a lot of stuff. And it's not just for the kids. I mean, certainly there's tons of stuff for kids, but there's a lot of free things or cool things that you can do that are pretty nominal or free or inexpensive that are there. You just have to look around and check stuff out. I would say research what you like to do ahead of time. I mean, I'm not a golfer, but there's certainly wonderful golf courses out that way. And maybe just check the area. There's more in Orlando than Disney. Obviously, there's Universal and SeaWorld as well if you're talking theme parks, but there's tons to do out that way and different experiences that you can have that are also inexpensive. There's Kennedy Space Center, there's Icon Park. There's a lot of different things that you can do in that area of the world, and a lot of times they're much more reasonable because they are in competition with Disney, so they know it. They cornered the market, and they know that. And I would just say keep your options open, plan early, and look for as much time out in advance that you can. And if you're just everybody splitting everything, it should be a pretty economical way to go. I hope that I've been able to help you and give you some tips and tricks to cut corners with budget and yet still get the full experience. I love the place, so I try and go at least once a year. Another option, if you are near or closer than I am, because I'm outside of Philadelphia area, you might even think about an annual pass. They are pricey, but again, you could do that in one big chunk of money, or you could do it monthly, and there are different plans and types. I don't believe they're quite selling them yet again. If you were an annual pass holder, you are renewed, but I think they're going to start selling them in August. But that is a thought. I've worked it out for me. If I just went 12 days, not times, but 12 days in a park, which I'm going 6 this time, so half of it would be there, it's worth it for me to get an annual pass, even though I live outside of Philadelphia area. So keep that in mind. If you know you can be in the park, especially if you live in the South or you're near it. Same, of course, we go for Disneyland if you're on the West Coast. If you're in fair proximity to the parks, and I would say like anything like 5 or 6 hours and closer, I would definitely do an annual pass. And if you're far away like me, think about how often you want to go, like to go, can go, and it definitely pays for itself as well. So that's an option as well. And you're also entitled to perks that you wouldn't normally be entitled to as an annual pass holder. You get 20% off all food and beverage inside stores that are in the parks and downtown Disney Springs. You also are able to have free parking. That's huge. And you get priority timing on reservations. Right now, everything's 60 days. It used to be 180. Boy, did they truncate that. So it's 60 days for reservations ahead of time. That may increase again. I don't know. And you do have to declare what park you're going to go to on what day. So the way it works with the park thing is that you have to declare what park you're going to be at, not which one you want to hop to if you do want to spend the money on a hopper, but you have to now put in what day you want to be in what park. And it's a stoplight system. So green means go. You could go to any park you want. And you do have to link that up in your account. I'll explain that in a second. Yellow means that some parks are available, some are not. Red means forget it, there's no parks available. Where do you do this? MyDisneyExperience.com. There is an app you can download. It's the same thing. It has all of your reservations to parks, to any kind of experiences that you may have or want to book, and anything with resorts if you're staying there, and any dining reservations. So it's got pretty much your whole scheduled life in Disney or anything around it on your MyDisneyExperience.com, which you could sign up to get that with or without ever having been. And I recommend it because it's free, so why not? And you could maybe play around a little and navigate it. I recommend doing that before your trip. The thing with that is I mentioned the 60-day thing. Just one caveat, and this is the only thing that literally it's marginal, but it's the only thing that they're still allowing people staying in the hotels to do. 60 days before. It used to be 180 and now it's 60 for everybody. 60 days before your arrival date, you're allowed to make reservations for your dining, and people like me that don't stay in the park have to go every morning at I think it's 6 o'clock in the morning. And you have to go to click on and get your reservation. And when I tell you that 6:01, some of those reservations are gone, I'm not kidding. Every day I had to do that and get up and be ready to go in the mydisneyexperience.com to get whatever reservations we wanted in a park for dinner. If you're in a resort, the 60th day back before you get there, you can do all of your reservations, however long you're staying, at once. So that's the only little perk that they've allowed to stay. So it's still 60. It used to be 180, but it's 60. So it's a bit early, but it's nowhere near as early as it used to be. So that's just something you should note. But other than that, I think I've gotten you up to date on everything that I could possibly tell you to have a better experience, certainly a less expensive experience, to do Disney. Because there's so many people that want to go, and families and kids and on. There's, I wish we could do it, and it's so expensive. Yeah, not going to lie, it is. But it is much less expensive than you think if you do it planned economically, and take a year. Literally figure, okay, next year I want to do this, and just make sure you do things in pieces, and you'll be okay. The more the merrier, because the more time you spend and the more people you have, then everybody can share costs, and that's not so bad. Of course, you catch a little break with kids meals, kids tickets, etc., and the little ones are free. So that's just some helpful tips and tricks. I hope that got at least one person to be able to go or consider going that couldn't. It is worth seeing if you haven't gone. And just from a customer service perspective, I have been in the entertainment industry for 25 years, and they have their act together. And that is a good thing. And it's definitely a place where you really don't think about the outside world. And it is a little fantasy land, literally, but it's a good thing. It's, do you really need to think about all the horrible news and terrible things that are going on? No, it's nice to have a magical day once in a while. So I love it. And certainly it's worth doing. So food for thought. If you like today's episode, check us out at eclecticcollectionpodcast.com or follow us on your preferred platform. I'm Terry Tenaglia. Thanks for listening.